Now having earned our first tournament entry pack, we got the sealed only label. Throw that boy right out the window because we are dealing with cards I bought on the internet now.
Boys.
We are back, playing with good decks this time. How do you feel, Kyle?
I'm pretty pumped. I think today will go way better than last week.
Hope you boys are excited for this surprise episode of Sealed Only Sparring without the sealed part. We're only sparring today. As you're about to see in a second, we got some pretty awesome deck profiles to bring this time. Full-on Earth Machine deck, cards that I bought on the internet, not just pulled from packs. Kyle has access to spheres this time, so...
Spheres? Yeah, I got spheres. I got one more safer. It's not full. I don't have all the cards, but I got more cards than I did in Sealed Only, so that means something.
Kyle has a lot more cards. He got Boral Sword now. He got... That's it, right?
Yeah.
You got some other... We'll show you the deck profile, but we're going to try to do a little bit better this time, see how much we suck with real decks, if it was the Sealed Only Challenge or if it was us. So stick around, boys. You're going to want to watch all these duels, and let's get it going.
Novo got that heat, boy.
So I'm running 3 Rocket Tracer, 2 Synchron, 1 Recharger, and to make it a little different, I'm running 1 Silver. Then I have 2 Abs and the 1 Fuel because we can. The 3 Quick Lunge, because it'd be stupid not to run that. Then we've got the Chaos cards that I didn't have in Sealed Only, so we have 3 Chaos Space. I only have 2 Safer, but that's just for now.
Better than 1.
Yeah, it is better than 1 for sure. The 1 Levy, and then the 2 Baby Dragons. And then moving into, I guess, extender cards or whatever. I don't know really what to call them, but we got Ravine and then 2 Noctivision. I feel like it's still fine to run it at 2. I did add 1 Galactic Spiral back in, and then I am still running Chamber, but I'm running 1 Chamber and 2 Tiding. And then I cut down Black Metal down to 1, and then the 1 Red MD. I feel like Red MD is a good target off of Spheres. Spoiler, we're running Spheres. To round off the deck, we're running 45 in this build, so then I got 3 Veiler. We got 3 Ghost Ogre.
He laughing at your Ghost Ogre.
Yeah. Gamma.
Fucking scrub.
Gamma and Driver. 3 Nib, and 1 of them being D's because I don't have enough.
Gave him the hookup.
Gave me that hookup, and then 2 triple Tactics Talent to round off the deck. Alright, and then going into the extra deck, we have 1 Striker, 1 Pisty, 1 Romulus as always. We have 1 Sphere, 1
What? What's Sphere?
1 Shafiel. We have 1 Spheres. I think it's fine to run it at 1. I watched a bunch of videos, and yeah, some people agree with me, some people don't, but whatever. 1 Quad Boral and 1 Triple Burst. I feel like Triple Burst is really good for going into Access Code, which we're obviously still running. We got Derek the Dark Charmer. Then we got Boral Sword, which I wish I would have pulled during Sealed Only, and Access Code Talker. Going back with the Simp card, we got IP with her fucking motorcycle and Unicorn. Yeah, IP with Spheres on board. It's just an instant Unicorn. Pepega Ruler, Savage, and Red Hot. Those are pretty much staples. And then Deez letting me borrow Zombie Vampire, which I think is going to be really good today. So hopefully it is. We'll see. I'm moving on to the side deck. So to start off, we have 3. So let me just put them all down. To start off the side, we got 3 Imperm. Even though I was just talking shit on them, figured we just side them out just in case. 3 Ash. Figured that'd be fine to side since it's not a light or dark. And 2 Lancia. We got 3 Dark Ruler No More and 3 Cosmic Cyclone. And then the 1 boy of Scarlet.
MVP moved to the side deck.
Yeah, that MVP moved to the side deck, but at least he's still here. And yeah, so that's my deck. Let's see what happens. Let's get it going, boys. Yo!
Boys, I am feeling hyped today. We won the first dice roll of the night. Unfortunately, we brick, and we basically have to set Machina Overdrive and cross out Designator and then pass right over to our opponent. Not the best start, but hey, you never know what's going to happen. They're on DDD, and they start comboing off, but when they activate Dark Contract to Search, I respond with Ghost Ogre, and they chain Called By. Now, this is a pretty cool opportunity because I have that crossout set, declaring Called By the Grave to make sure that my Ghost Ogre goes through, stopping their Dark Contract from the Abyss, and basically ends their turn because I set 2 and pass, learning there that it's a pretty important card for their combo. Then on my next turn, I draw Harvester, and when I normal summon and activate the effect, they imperm, but I do have the Dozer in hand, so I'm able to set up my graveyard with a Tunneler and a Trencher, go for Riverstormer to search Bullet Train, and I get Citadel out with Machina Overdrive that I set last turn, and then I even use Tunneler to shuffle cards back and draw 2. I overlay my 2 level 10 boys into Gustav Max. I actually forget that they're at 4,000 life points from using Prairie's map already, and I take the game in the battle phase right there. So good start for the night. Having won the first game, my opponent decides to go first for game 2, and they activate Dark Contract right off the bat, which I hit with Ash Blossom. Today I learned the difference between an ignition and a trigger effect, because my opponent explains that they activated the card and not the effect yet, but they're nice and allow the Ash to go through. Then they activate 1 for 1, discarding their Ash to special out a Searcher card, and they pick up another Dark Contract. They set a card and pass, showing once again how important that card is. I start my turn with Infinitrack Anchor Drill and activate the effect, specialing out a Trencher from hand. Then I use Anchor Drill to make them both level 9 and overlay for Earth Slicer. They imperm my Earth Slicer, but I still got plays to make. Special out Bullet Train and tribute it for Dozer. Then I bring out Trencher from the deck, and then overlay for Riverstormer and use the effect to send Machina Fortress to the graveyard. Then I'm able to pitch a Machina Metal Cruncher from my hand to special summon it. In the battle phase, I can't quite kill them, but I do put up really big damage. And boys, I actually remember to use the Bullet Train in the end phase and get Machina Metal Cruncher back, which is a pretty good resource to have in the bank for later. Back on their turn, they activate Dark Contract and pick up DDD Swirl Slime. They fusion summon using the slime, and put up a big DDD fusion monster that has a spell trap negate and can special summon from the grave. They proceed from there to use a grave effect to get another one of the same fusion monster out, and they send both to the graveyard to special summon Gilgamesh, the Link monster, which gets their pendulum scale set up. They're at 400 life points to my 8,000, but I'm still worried they're going to OTK me out of nowhere since their combo is going pretty hard right now. They bring out one more fusion monster and overlay a DDD Xyz over the Gilgamesh. The fusion monster destroys the fortress with its effect, and beats over the Earth Slicer by battle, and then their Xyz monster beats over the Riverstormer. I have an empty board, but they have 400 life points, so I'm still feeling good. So I normal summon the Metal Cruncher and get the search off by sacrificing the Derek Crane to the negate, which is actually pretty funny because I start comboing off, specialing out Anchor Drill with the Trencher effect in the grave, and I link it out for Goliath, and then I bring out the Riverstormer with the Goliath effect, and when I try to activate the Riverstormer search, they activate that Xyz monster again, but they detach that Derek Crane that they added earlier, and then I can use that Derek Crane effect since it was sent to my graveyard for an Xyz monster effect to pop their Xyz monster. I don't know if that's ever happened before, but that felt pretty awesome. My opponent definitely didn't think about that or read that card, so got lucky there. From there, I link into Ancient Gear Ballista play, which lets me set up my Gearbox and Tunneler. I bring out the Tunneler and then link it to the graveyard and use Earth Slicer to get the Goliath in the graveyard. I use the Tunneler effect to shuffle back the 3 Goliaths, Ballista, and Anchor Drill, draw 2, discard a Metal Cruncher to bring out Fortress, then link the Earth Slicer into Goliath. I go to the battle phase and attack the Fortress into the fusion monster and use Fortress's Destroy by Battle effect to pop it. Then I go for game with that 1,000 attack point Goliath, taking the first match of the night.
Alright, so round 1, my opponent is on Prank Kids, and they go through what appears to be a pretty standard Prank Kids combo. They cycle through each of the elemental Prank Kid monsters, link monsters, and end it with 2 back row, get a shuffle, and a draw in the end phase. On my turn, I start with Rocket Synchron and link into Striker Dragon, which immediately gets hit with Ash, and I have no further plays after that, so I set 2 and pass. Still on my turn, they go for Prank Kid's fusion spell to bring out Battle Butler and bring out a few other Prank Kids monsters. On their turn, they activate Faithful Adventure, and then they get access to the token and Draco back, which then they use Draco back to bounce one of the Tidings back to my hand. And then from there, they bring out Griffin Rider, go for Doodle Doo, and then Nightmare Unicorn to shuffle my last backer, which again is another Dragonmaid Tiding. This time I activate it in an attempt to bounce back the Striker Dragon and Griffin Rider. And then they go for Access Code Talker and attempt to go to battle, but I hit them with a huge Nibiru. They shuffle back 3 Prank Kids monsters, allowing them to draw a card in the end phase, and I draw a Gamma for turn. I normal summon Chamber and link Nibiru and Chamber into Dark and steal Access Code, bring out Levineer, pop the Adventure token and Fateful Adventure. Then I go into battle and attack with Dark and Access Code. They go for Fusion Destiny on their turn after bringing out Griffin Rider since they control no monsters. And after the DPE comes out, I chain Tiding to try and bounce Levianeer and DPE, but they chain DPE, popping both of those cards. Griffin Rider takes out Dark in the battle phase, letting me add Rocket Synchron to my hand, and they get another shuffle and add back in their end phase, but I finally have some momentum. I go Access Code to pop the Griffin Rider, normal summon Synchron and use the effect targeting Levy, and they finally flip their face down, which is called by, which banishes the Levy. On resolution, they use DPE to pop both DPE and Synchron, which thankfully lets me use the triple tactic Talon I have in my hand. I use it to draw 2, but those cards didn't help me too much, so I just attack in for another 2300 damage. They use Dasher's effect to get a special out of Lampseas and then bring out DPE in the standby phase, and then get access to another adventure token. Normal summon Ghost Ogre and use Celestial to draw 2 cards. They go DPE to pop their field spell and access code, and then move to battle for big damage and set 1 in the end phase. I normal Black Metal on my turn, but they immediately use DPE to pop it. After a very grindy game 1, they finally take it. For game 2, now that I'm no longer playing Sealed Only anymore, your boy wants to go first, so that's exactly what we do. I start off with a normal summon of Rocket Synchron and go straight for Striker Dragon as normal, and yet again they have Ash. Unfortunately, I forgot to bring out Noctivision to chain block until after I summon Red MD. Then I just use that to bring out Spheres and pass. My opponent goes for the Adventure Engine again, but I have the Ghost Ogre for the continuous spell this time. I go Spheres to bounce the token, and I bring out Abstract Dragon. They go through the Prank Kids combo, and thankfully I have the Nibiru once again and get a search from Rocket Tracer from the Abs. They set 1, get their shuffle back, draw 1, and pass. On my turn, I normal summon the Rocket Synchron, which lets me special the Abs from the grave, and then I go for my boy, RIP, Pepega Ruler. I mill and snag Ghost Ogre and use Abs for another Tracer. I put up some damage in the battle phase and pass. After passing to my opponent, the timer rings, bring my first match to a draw.
Going into round 2, we're playing against the homie Rainy, the Eldritch player from the SOS finale, who's super cool. After re-rolling twice, they finally win the dice roll and go first. And if you're aware, it always sucks to go second against Eldritch, because similarly to last time, they start with Pot of Extravagance to get a draw 2 right off the bat. They bring out the Golden Lord and set 5 cards pass. On my turn, after I normal summon Machina Metal Cruncher and chain Derek Crane, they respond with Skill Drain, which ends my turn right there, since all I have in my hand is a bunch of monsters. Back on their turn, they go for big damage, but they're not able to kill me. Skill Drain really puts me in my place though, and they take the dub on the very next turn. Hoping for a better game 2, I go first this time around and start with Metal Cruncher to pick up Dozer, which lets me get into the Riverstormer play. I add Fortress to hand and discard Citadel to bring out the Fortress. From there I go for Ancient Gear Ballista. I set up that Tunneler play to draw 2, and I end on Anger Knuckle with 3 back row. Not terrible, I mean that's kind of what my deck is trying to do for a turn 1 board. They start their turn with Eldritch Effect in hand, trying to get my Anchor Knuckle into the graveyard, but I respond with Machina Overdrive, which gets me Citadel out and a search for Metal Cruncher, but they immediately hit me with Lava Golem after that. They successfully cleared out all my machines and set themselves up 3 back row. From this point, I'm able to bring out Bullet Train and Citadel, playing through 2 of their back row, and I overlay both of those into a Super Dora, trying to wall up while their Golden Lord is still beefy from its graveyard effect. Back on their turn, they go for Gustav Max, burning me down to 2k life, and then overlay for Lieb. They try to bring out Eldritch from the graveyard, but I have Ghost Bell, and then they try for Lieb effect, and I have Ghost Ogre. Feels good to have all these hand traps. They still have 3 back row that I have to play through, so this game is not over yet. After a big long combo, I set up Lieb with Ancient Gear Ballista and am able to draw 2. Unfortunately, I forgot about Ballista's effect to lower an opponent's monster's attack down to 0, which could have won me the game if I lowered their Link Spider down to 0 and had used Lieb to attack over it. But on the very next turn, they bring out Golden Lord and attack over Ballista for game. That's a big loss right there. I definitely could have taken that game. But it's all good. We're moving on to the next one.
For round 2, I was going up against a 60-card Adventure Phantom Knights deck, and I got a really rough hand out here. I'm starting with a normal summon of a Silver Rocket. Thankfully, I'm able to add the Boot Sector with Striker Dragon this time, and from there, I just bring out Spheres and get Tracer to hands with Abs and pass. They go straight into the Adventure Engine on their turn, baiting out both my Ghost Ogre for the Continuous Spell and Spheres Bounce, which I use to clear the token. They get Enchantress from the Continuous Spell Search, and then on a new chain where Spheres activates, they negate that effect with Ash. From there, they go into a small Phantom Knights combo and go for Verte, which I Veiler. And then back on my turn, I go for Red MD, which gets hit with Ghost Bell, but I'm able to put up Hot Red Dragon, Archfiend from the Abyss, and Link 4 into Boral Sword, which gets me the game win. For game 2, my opponent goes first, starting with the Adventure Engine once again. I only have 1 hand trap this time, which is Veiler, and I use that on Dagda, but they're still able to put up Fogblade, Griffin Rider, DPE, and Bardiche, with 2 unknown back row. I start with a normal summon of Silver Rocket, but it's GG from there because they use Dagda and DPE to set up the Scythe Lock. Still play a little bit using Dragon Ravine to get Spiral Dragon to the grave and use TTT to try and get some more advantage, but they use the Griffin Rider from there, basically ending my turn. Back on their turn, they swing for big damage, taking the game. Finally, on to a game 3, I go first and get to give Chaos Space its debut. Big combo here, setting up Spheres and then getting Tracer, Silver, and Synchron onto the board. But as soon as I go for Pepega, they hit me with that big Nibiru. Fortunately, I forgo Sphere's mandatory effect, especially from the deck here, and pass my turn. On their turn, they quickly normal summon Enchantress so that they can attack over the token and then deal big damage as the buzzer rings, giving them the match.
Boys, you got to remember, this was recorded at the beginning of April, so 60 card pile was everywhere still, and that's exactly what I'm playing against in round 3. Game 1, my opponent wins the dice roll, and they start right off with Fusion Destiny, and I have the Ash Blossom, which is best case scenario since they pass right there. Back on my turn, I start with an Anchor Drill normal summon, and activate the effect to special summon Derricrane from hand. Don't want to reduce Derricrane's attack points if I don't have to. I go for Ancient Gear Ballista and try to set up the Tunneler play to draw 2, but I fail to do the correct math, and I am 1 monster short. I'm an engineer, everybody. Don't forget that. Couldn't count to 5. I didn't have my battle phase on my mind for some reason. I guess because they didn't have any cards on their side of the field, I felt like I was going first. I could have done some big damage with the first 2 monsters I had up, or even a little bit of damage with the Goliath, but I just attempt to pass it right back to them after setting Overdrive and cross out Designator. They actually hit me with Nibiru before exiting the main phase, which ends up working in my favor because now I can use the Tunneler effect to draw those 2 cards. The Nib did hurt though because I do lose a machine on my side of the field, but I do draw into a Nib of my own and Ghost Ogre with that draw 2 effect. Back on their turn, all they do is swing over the token in the battle phase. Back on my turn, I normal the Gearbox and then use Overdrive to special Metal Cruncher from the deck and attempt to use its effect to search and get my plays going, but they activate Ghost Mourner, which ends my turn. That's like the one hand trap I'm not running for crossout targets. Back on their turn, they start comboing off, getting into Cherubini and setting up the Adventure Engine, but thankfully I have the Ghost Ogre to cut that off. They shuffle back my set crossout with Nightmare Unicorn, but I still have the Overdrive, which I use to bring out Citadel, to wipe their board except for Cherubini since it can't be destroyed, and then hit them with Nib before their turn is over. We have a few turns passed back and forth, but I'm able to pull off a big combo, cycling through the River Stormer, and using Overdrive to shuffle back the Tunneler and use its effect again to draw another 2 cards. I just have too much advantage at that point and take the game 1 win. I'm definitely noticing there's a lot more to say about these games than there was in the SOS finale. Feeling pretty good about my deck so far, and pretty good that the time lapse isn't at like 2,000%. Alright boys, we're headed into game 2 of round 3. Our opponent goes into Cherubini pretty early on to get to the Adventure Engine and set up their Griffin Rider. I have Nib in hand, but it's not going to get past the negate they set up. They put that Griffin out before the 5th summon. Then the unthinkable happens. My phone ran out of storage before they passed back to me, but as you might have caught, I have the Cosmic Cyclone in hand for the Scythe Lock that they try to set up, which ultimately gets me the win. I'm sorry that happened, boys, but I'm going to try my best not to let that happen again. It's time to delete Master Duel off my phone and free up like 3 gigs for the next couple matches. So sorry about that once again, but we did take the round 3 match dub. So doing pretty good so far, 2-1.
For round 3, my opponent wins a dice roll and loads up their hand, but they're only able to put down a single card in the back row and pass it right over to me. As soon as my turn starts, they slap down a D-Shifter, which would have really hurt, but I fortunately had a Gamma in hand. And from D-Shifter, I can only assume that they're playing Fluenderies. From here, I combo off pretty heavy, getting into Hot Red Dragon, Archfiend Abyss, and Borrelsword Dragon, taking game 1. Game 2, my opponent must be having a really rough day because he just sets 3 and passes. I go through a similar combo as the first game, starting off with Black Metal this time, link it off in a Striker Dragon, and pick up Boot Sector Launch. I forgo the Black Metal effect, but my opponent was nice enough to let me search for the red MD. Then I go into Romulus, pick up Dragon Ravine, get access to Rocket Tracer from the deck. From there, I get a bunch of monsters up, mill with Pepega, set up Archfiend Abyss, and Borrelsword. They don't flip up any of their back row as I proceed to battle phase, and that takes this match 2-0. Through both of these games, I didn't see a single card from him except for D-Shifter, so I'm assuming they were playing Fluenderies, but I can't really be too sure. The boys be taking dubs tonight.
Sorry once again, boys, that we couldn't give you as many updates this time around or as much B-roll footage of us hanging out at Taco Bell. Games are just going a lot longer this time. I think it's a testament to how much stronger our decks are and are better able to compete with what's going on around us. Round 4, we're playing against Tenyi Sword Soul, and I'm lucky enough to win the dice roll and go first. Start with Harvester to pick up Tunneler and link it off for Goliath, which I then tribute to bring out Dozer. We run through the River Stormer play to pick up Bullet Train, which I then special out. Then I link 2 into Anger Knuckle and attempt the Trencher effect in Grave, but they hit me with the Ghost Bell. First time that's happened to me, and it definitely hurts, not getting that draw 2. They start off with an Incredible Ecclesia on their turn, and go for Moye, and bring out Chiao, which I hit with Veiler. They get a draw off of Moye though, which still always feels bad. From there, they try to bounce Anger Knuckle with Vashuda, but I swap it out for the Bullet Train in my graveyard. Bullet Train and 1 back row doesn't appear to be enough to stop them, as they shuffle both back with Baxia, and they do big damage and pass it back to me. Unfortunately, I'm not able to do anything meaningful enough on my turn to take the dub, and I just scoop it up. Pretty bad track record against this deck so far. In game 2 of round 4, I'm going first once again, and start with heavy forward to pick up a Harvester, which gets impermed. I still have some comboing to do to get the Harvester in the grave and bring it back out with Trencher. Then I can set up a 2-material Zeus with Derek Crane and Harvester, and I pass. I start with a spell card Searcher that I try to hit with Ash, and they respond with Gamma. Retrospect, had I attached the heavy forward to Zeus, and then remembered to use Zeus's second effect to attach a material after Gamma destroyed my Ash. Could have had 4 materials on this bad boy, but hey, things to learn from when you look back on this footage, which actually a really good plus of the series is looking back on all these duels and taking notes so that I can improve in the future. I'm able to stop their Hulk with Valor, but they're still going to push through my board, leaving me with a whole lot of nothing to do on my turn. So I scoop it up once again, leaving me with a very rough track record against Tenyi Sword Soul.
For round 4, I am going up against Flunderies, and with a big dice roll dub, I get to go first. I started off with Chaos Space pitching Chamber, which goes through and allows me to pick up the White Dragon. Bring out White Dragon and link in a Striker, which lets me pick up Boot Sector and Black Dragon. Then I use Chaos Space to draw a card. My play continues going into Romulus, which helps me get access to Rocket Tracer, set up Spheres, Savage, and the Savage gets impermed. My opponent starts with the Magnificent map and begins comboing off uncontested. They get into M-Pen, Wind Barrier Statue, and then they beat over my board in the battle phase and pass turn. Today I learned how Ghost Ogre works because I tried to use it to pop their field spell in the end phase, but my opponent explains that you have to respond to an effect activation. On my turn, all I can do with the Wind Barrier Statue set up is set 1 monster and pass. My opponent puts up Apex Avion and deals big damage. I can still only set a monster again, and my opponent takes the win. For game 2, they start their turn with D-Shifter, which I have no response for. This time around, I learned that because all cards that would go to the grave are banished instead, you can't use hand traps such as Ghost Ogre that need to be sent to the graveyard for cost. Then they combo off, ending on M-Pen and the Barrier Statue with a back row. Being under D-Shifter and also being unable to special summon monsters besides Wind really has me locked down here, so I set and pass. They use Dreaming Town before I can end my turn, which allows them to get Ryza, the Mega Monarch, bouncing my face down and leaving me defenseless. They're easily able to put up the damage from there and take the dub.
Had so many long rounds, or at least I did. I think you had mostly long rounds, so we weren't able to give an update until this is the end of round 4. So Kyle, why don't you give people a quick rundown of what happened?
Can't believe it's round 4. Yeah, so I tied on my first one, lost my second one, went to real fast in the third one, and I just got smacked by birds. And those birds aren't real. Barrier Statue and Dimensional Shifter all in once, not cool. Better experience so far. Everyone's been really nice too, because I kind of misplayed a few times. Are you guys surprised about that? Well, not even that, but whatever. And no, everyone's been really cool here. I like it.
Yeah, this is cool stuff in Hollywood, not Davie, Florida. Everyone has been super nice to me as well. I'm 2-2 right now, 2 wins, 2 losses. I lost against Tenyi Sword Soul and against Eldritch. I almost was able to get the draw, but I was dumb and left Gear Ballista in attack mode, but I also cheated and went into a Wind Monster with Brutal Dozer having been activated that turn, so it's just desserts. I'm having a much better time. I mean, all my games are just grinding and grinding, so this has been a way better experience. Sealed Only was fun. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we broke the bubble and our locals' virginity doing it, but hey, this is going a little bit better, so let's see how the last round goes, boys.
For the 5th and final round, I'm going up against the Ultra Athletes. I win the dice roll and choose to go first. I start with Chaos Space, pitching Levianeer, picking up White Dragon, and from that point, I begin to go through my normal combo. But for some reason, I decided to just end on Spheres. Not really sure what I was thinking. They start their turn and go Extravagance and then imperm my Spheres. Then they activate UA Stadium, starting to get some boys on the field and beat over Spheres in battle. Then they tag out Player Manager for Perfect Ace and set a back row. Not really sure what these cards are doing at this point. I draw Dragon Ravine for turn, slap it down, discard Talents. Then they try to Ghost Ogre the field spell, and I respond with Gamma, and then they use Perfect Ace Negate, which stops Dragon Ravine from going through. I try to continue using Chaos Space, but realize I have no targets. Thankfully, my opponent lets me take it back, and I special out White Dragon and activate Boot Sector, but they activate their monster effect, tagging out to pop the boot. From there, I normal summon Tracer and Synchro into Savage, but they respond with Imperm, so then I just move into battle and attack over Player Manager. Back on their turn, they tag into Perfect Ace and use the field spell to pick up another Player Manager, which can pop the Savage. From there, I just scoop them up. For game 2, I switch it up on them and decide to go second. This time around, I stop the field spell search with Ash, but they are able to set up 2 UA monsters with no back row. I start with Imperm, but they tag out, bringing Perfect Ace to the field, and even with their negate, I'm able to combo off a bit cycling through Black and White Dragon and putting up spheres. They negate my boot sector launch, but I can normal summon Synchron, and then I go into IP and pass my turn. They start with Raigeki of all things, forcing me to respond. I choose to use spheres to bounce and let IP hit the grave, forgetting that if I had used IP, the monster that would have been brought out would have been immune to the destruction. All is not lost as I bring out Black Metal Dragon, which allows me to pick up Red MD when it hits the grave in battle. I bring out the Red MD on my turn, but my other cards eat up the negates and I have to pass turn. They shuffle back my Red MD by going into Unicorn, and I draw Imperm for my next turn, which gives me a T-set pass, which I cannot come back from, and they take the game. So I end the epilogue with 1 match win, 1 draw, and 3 losses. Of course, it sucks a little bit not doing as good as the last time we went to locals with the sealed only decks, but it is what it is. It did feel really good though, playing with cards like Chaos Space, Spheres, and such. It felt really cool taking a game using Boral Sword. I kind of like that card. I know it's not as good as some of the other Link 4s, but it at least fits the theme of the deck. But I'm really happy that D let me do the series with him. It's just been a ton of fun. So thanks, D. Thank you all for watching.
All right, so my last opponent didn't show up, so we're going to end the night with a 3-win, 2-loss. If I played the game against the homie a little bit better, could have been 3-win, a loss, and a draw. You live and you learn.
You boys thought I was finished? Psych. We're out here in Top Cut today. I think that I had the same record as a lot of other people who decided to leave the store. I actually did decide to leave the store and was hanging outside talking, and then people came outside the store and said, "Hey, are you Derek? You made Top Cut, come through." So, I got lucky enough to make it into the top 8. And I'm going to be playing against the guy Kyle versed in the second round, 60-card pile deck. My opponent does win the dice roll and chooses to go first. I open 2 Ash and a Veiler, as well as Metal Cruncher and Dozer, so I'm feeling somewhat good about my position. I have 2 hand traps and a starter. They start off by getting access to the Adventure Engine, but I use Ash to stop them from getting the Griffin Rider. They go through the PK Fire combo. They set up Bardiche, Cherubini, and set a Fogblade. Then they go for the Scythe combo using Dagda to set it to the field and get access to a second Fogblade. Then the real smack in the face is that they used Fusion Destiny from hand to bring out DPE, so I can't use my Veiler to stop Anaconda from bringing it out, which is why I was holding it. That card is going to be dead in my hand now. On my turn, I start with Machina Metal Cruncher to search, and they respond with DPE, popping the Scythe and the Metal Cruncher. I pick up Derricrane, and with Scythe on the board, all I can do is set a card and pass. They easily put up enough damage to take game 1 there. Top 8 is looking pretty serious. Since I lost game 1, I can choose whether to go first or second, and of course your boy chooses to go first. I start off with heavy forward picking up a Trencher. Then I normal summon Harvester and search Tunneler. I link the Harvester into Goliath and summon out the Trencher. Then I link that off too. I go for the Dozer and special summon out a Trencher from the deck and bring out River Stormer. The effect goes through and I search Bullet Train to hand. Then I link the River Stormer into my third Goliath and go for Ancient Gear Ballista to search the gear box, which adds Anchor Drill, cycling through all my Infinitrack boys. I use the Grave effect of Trencher to bring the Harvester back out and link into Anger Knuckle. I attempt to use the Tunneler effect, which gets hit with the biggest Ghost Bell of the night, forces me to end on Anger Knuckle pass. My opponent takes a moment to read my cards, then starts off with Lightning Storm, forcing me to bring out the Bullet Train in defense using the Anger Knuckle effect, which dodges it. They immediately go for the Adventure package, but once again I have the Ash to stop their access to Griffin Rider. They use the Draco back to bounce the Bullet Train back to my hand and deal some damage, and in main phase 2 they go for Anaconda, which was their 4th summon, and bring out DPE, which can easily dodge Nibiru by clearing the board of monsters. At that point they set 2 and pass. I start my turn with Anchor Drill, but it gets hit with the Fogblade that they had set. I tribute the Anchor Drill for Trencher, and use Anger Knuckle effect to tribute the Trencher and bring itself out. I use the River Stormer effect for some reason, tributing the Anger Knuckle. I guess I forgot Goliath was the only one that could attach itself, and they used DPE anyway, popping the River Stormer and DPE. I do still have some plays though. Trencher in the grave to bring out Anchor Drill and special out Bullet Train. I go for Battle Phase and attack for 3k with the Bullet Train. That series of plays was pretty sloppy on my part, to be honest, and right after that my phone runs out of storage. Doesn't really matter though, because they're able to put up some big damage and take the game on their very next turn anyway, leaving me with a loss in the first round of Top Cut. It's alright, even though I played suboptimally at times, I'm still super happy I made it into top 8. Feels like a very big improvement from the last time, and I'm super happy you boys could see me succeed in that way. I'll definitely have to do a better job of managing my phone storage the next time I record one of these at locals, and I want to say thanks again for hanging out. This has been a very wild ride. We'll be posting a recap of all the ups and downs, Kyle and myself, kind of like a discussion type video. Like the great FAM says, my favorite video game YouTuber, it's not a goodbye, it's a see you later. I'll catch you boys in the next time. We got 'em.
Learned a lot today. I felt way better about my deck, and I'm just super excited that we were able to take some wins. Kyle won some games, I won some games. We had a pretty good experience. Sealed Only was fun, but it definitely feels good to win. I'm excited to go to locals for the future. I mean, Sealed Only Sparring was just the beginning. We went to our very first locals, and now we're coming back more and more, trying to get better. Maybe you'll see us on the competitive scene sometimes. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's ever watched one of my videos. Got big things coming, so stick around. You're not going to want to miss it. I'm just going to try my best and try to learn from my mistakes. Thank you guys. If you're new here, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for the future of DeezCards, and I appreciate you hopping along the journey with me. Catch you guys next time. Got 'em.